The boys pulled off something that almost never happens in television. They made a trailer that felt like a promise, let you sit with that promise for months, and then spent 7 episodes making you question whether the show was going to keep it. And just when you thought they had completely backed out of it, episode 7 dropped, and suddenly everything is back on the table. We are 2 days away from the series finale. The show is done after this. And right now, nobody actually knows which version of Billy Butcher we are getting in that last episode. That is what we are talking about today, because this is not just about whether Butcher is a villain. This is about whether the boys has the nerve to actually end the way it was always supposed to. Let me take you back to before the season started. The pre-season teaser for season 5 dropped, and it had this one line that basically broke the internet for comic readers. Butcher, in full, I do not care anymore mode, says, "Even if I have to drag your broken carcasses over the finish line, we are going all the way, no matter the cost, till the job is done." And the trailer cuts that line over shots of the rest of the team looking genuinely scared of him, not of Homelander, of Butcher. The implication was obvious. The show was setting Butcher up as the second villain of this final season. Now, if you have read the comics, you already knew this is where the story was heading. In Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson's source material, the ending is brutal. Butcher kills Homelander, yes, but that is not where the story stops. Butcher, free from his obsession but utterly hollow inside, decides the only logical next step is wiping out every single Supe on the planet, including Frenchie, including Kimiko, including The only reason it does not happen is Huey. Huey is the one who finally stops him. So going into the season, the setup was there. The trailer reinforced it, and comic fans were bracing for the version of Butcher that finally crosses the line completely. Then the episodes started dropping, and for a while something strange happened. For the first 6 episodes of season 5, Butcher was not the monster the trailers suggested. Episode 5 is the clearest example. Butcher told Huey he could keep some of the V1 compound to try and work toward an antidote for Kimiko and Starlight. That is not villain behavior. That is a man who is aware other people exist and actually cares about what happens to them. He even let Terror, his dog, stick around. Which sounds minor, but if you understand Butcher's character, the dog is basically the last visible sign of his humanity. He has always been a man who loves animals more than people, partly because animals do not disappoint him. Seeing him care for the dog in season 5 felt like the writers saying, there is still something worth saving here. And then there was Ryan. For most of the season, Butcher's relationship with Ryan told you everything you needed to know about where his moral compass actually was. He tracked the kid down. He pulled him out of Homelander's orbit. He nursed him back to health. This is not the behavior of someone who has fully converted to nihilism. Now, a lot of fans, myself included, were watching all of this and thinking, okay, are they just going soft? Did they pull back from the dark ending because they did not want to take the risk? The comparison that kept coming up was Game of Thrones, and not in a flattering way. Daenerys Targaryen's turn into a villain was one of the most divisive moments in modern television, not because the idea was wrong, but because the execution felt rushed and unearned. Writers and showrunners everywhere learned from that disaster, and there was a real worry that the boys was overcorrecting to avoid the same backlash. But then episode 7 happened, and everything changed. Episode 7 is where this season stops pulling punches. First, Frenchie is gone, and I mean gone. He sacrifices himself to protect Kimiko from Homelander, blasting himself with radiation to buy her enough time to hide. The writers named the episode after him, The Frenchman, the Female, and the Man Called Mother's Milk. That title is a goodbye. But as massive as that loss is, the more important shift is what happens with Butcher in that same episode. By the end of episode 7, Butcher has fully surrendered to what the show calls the Kessler persona, that internal voice representing his worst impulses, the part of him that sees no difference between killing Homelander and killing everyone else with powers. He steals the refined Supe virus from Frenchie and Starlight. He no longer cares about the team. He no longer cares about collateral damage. That line from the trailer, the one that was sold to us as Butcher being the villain of the season, actually appears in episode 7. And when you hear it in context, it hits completely differently. Because by that point in the episode, Butcher is not talking about dragging the team toward a heroic victory. He's talking about dragging humanity toward a world with no Supes. All of them, including the ones standing next to him. The show is now doing something genuinely interesting. It has positioned Homelander and Butcher as mirror villains. Homelander represents fascist control, the idea that power justifies everything. Butcher represents the opposite extreme, the idea that eliminating the powerful is worth any cost, including innocent lives. And sitting between those two monsters is the rest of the boys, plus Ryan, who at this point has been betrayed or failed by virtually every adult in his life. Going into the finale, titled Blood and Bone, there are more loose threads than a season finale normally has to handle. Let me run through them quickly. Kimiko may have just become the most important character in the finale. The experiment in episode 7, the one that cost Frenchie his life, may have actually worked. She might now have the ability to strip Homelander of his powers. Not kill him, strip him, which changes the entire math of the final confrontation. A depowered Homelander is suddenly just a man, and not even a particularly formidable one. Ryan is the wild card nobody is talking about enough. He has been kept off screen for chunks of this season, which in TV writing language usually means they are saving him for something significant. He is powerful enough to match Homelander, and he has now had his belief in both his father and Butcher shattered. His emotional state going into the finale is unstable, and unstable people with that much power are unpredictable. Soldier Boy is back in cryo storage, which feels less like a resolution and more like a setup. Jensen Ackles confirmed he wrapped filming in June of last year, and the show has gone out of its way to keep his character present in the story without committing to anything. His return at some point in episode 8 feels very likely. Stan Edgar, Vought's original Devil, has been floating around the edges of this season as a wild card. He has no loyalty to anyone, he has knowledge of the original Compound V formula, and he hates both Homelander and Butcher. He is either going to do something decisive or get killed before he can. Either way, his presence in the finale matters. And then there is Homelander himself, who now controls the United States government, has essentially installed himself as the head of a religious state, and has just had his most dangerous enemy, Kimiko with depowering abilities, slip right through his fingers. Here is the honest question going into the finale. How faithful is Eric Kripke going to be to the source material? Because the comic ending is dark, not bittersweet dark, actually dark. Butcher kills Frenchie and the female the character Kimiko is based on. He then prepares to release a virus that kills every Supe on Earth. Huey stops him, but the way Huey stops him is not a triumphant fistfight. It is Huey making a horrible decision about someone he considered a father figure. The show has never been afraid to be brutal, but it has also consistently softened certain things. Butcher's relationship with Huey has always been warmer on the show than in the comics. The dynamics between the team members are more emotionally developed. Killing Frenchie in episode 7 was already a massive gut punch. The show doing a complete comics-faithful ending where Butcher kills multiple main characters would require the audience to watch the last 7 years of attachment to these characters get destroyed in 40 minutes. Kripke has said publicly that landing this finale has been his biggest anxiety about the entire run, not an exaggeration. He literally said the words, "Fans will retroactively judge the show based on how they feel about the finale." That is a man who knows what is at stake. The most likely version of the ending, based on everything the season has built, is a hybrid. Butcher goes full scorched earth. Homelander is stopped, probably by Kimiko, Ryan, or both. And then Butcher, now with the airborne virus and nothing left to lose, becomes the final threat. The boys, led by Huey, have to stop him. Whether they stop him by killing him, or whether Butcher finds some last shred of himself and chooses to die on his own terms, is the question. There is also the very real possibility that Butcher dies from the Compound V disease that has been slowly killing him all season. His body is already failing. The show could use that as a way to end his arc without anyone having to make the choice to kill him. Here is what makes this whole conversation about Butcher interesting beyond just who is the villain. The Boys has always been a show about systems, not individuals. Homelander is a product of Vought. Butcher was made by the world Vought created. In a very real sense, both of them are symptoms of the same disease. One man wanted to be worshipped. The other man had everything taken from him and decided the only response was to burn down everything that took it. Stan Edgar said it directly in episode 3, "Even if you destroy all the Supes, something else will come along to fill that power vacuum." The show has never pretended that winning means solving the problem. It has always known that beating Homelander is not the end of the story. That is why a clean, happy ending would feel dishonest. Not wrong, just dishonest. The Boys has been a show about how power corrupts, how institutions protect the powerful, and how the people fighting those institutions can become just as dangerous as what they are fighting. A neat resolution with everyone hugging in the ruins of Vought Tower would undo all of that in about 30 seconds. The ending that fits this show is one that is incomplete. One where something was won and something was lost, and the people who made it through are not sure if it was worth it. The series finale, Blood and Bone, drops on Prime Video this Wednesday, May 20th. If you are in the United States, it is also screening in 4DX theaters on May 19th. Kripke went the Stranger Things route on the way out, which honestly feels appropriate for a show that was always slightly bigger than streaming was ready to hold. 7 years, 5 seasons. One character arc that went from grief-fueled revenge mission to potential planetary genocide. Billy Butcher started this show wanting one man dead. He is ending it as a potential weapon of mass destruction. Whether the show sticks the landing or not, you have to respect how far they were willing to take it. Drop your predictions in the comments. I want to know, do you think Butcher survives this or does the show go full comics? Let me know below. And if this video helped, subscribe. New content drops regularly and this channel is not done talking about the boys even after the finale. There is a lot to unpack. See you on the other side of Wednesday.